Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are going to discuss about for loop in Python. In this video, we are going to cover the following topics. We will discuss about what is a for loop and why do we need it. I will show you a simple example of for loop using list, tuple, string, and numbers. We will also see the usage of continue statement followed by the usage of break statement in a for loop, and then we will also see the usage of nested for loops in Python. Towards the end of this video, I will give you a homework which will be related to the for loop concept that we have learned in this particular video. So stay tuned to understand this really important concept in Python. Hello everyone, so we get started with the first thing, which is what is a for loop and why do we need it in Python. So for loop is a syntax that we use to iterate over a sequence of items in Python. The sequence could be either a list, a dictionary, a string, a tuple, or any other thing that can be iterated over. We need a for loop in Python in order to iterate through each item of a sequence and then perform the related operation accordingly. Let's jump into a simple example using list first and then followed by tuple, string, and numbers. I will create a list with the name animals, and this list will hold the name of 5 animals. Let it be dog, followed by cat, followed by maybe a bird, owl, then maybe tiger, and we have 4 now. I will also add lion. So you can see that I have created a list with 5 items inside it. One is dog, cat, owl, tiger, lion. Now we will try to use the for loop and we will try to access each of these items one by one inside the for loop, and we will try to print them. So let's see how the for loop works. So the syntax is for item in animals. Okay, so what I have done here is for is a reserved word, which means we are starting a for loop here followed by item. So this thing can be anything. I can put it as a, or I can put it as items, or I can use any random name here. So for, I would say item in animals. So in animals means in this list. So the list that we created in our previous step, we are going to iterate through that list, and for each item in this list we are going to perform the following action. So let's define the action below. So to keep this example really simple, I just want to print the items that we are iterating through, which means I will do a print followed by the item. So before explaining this once again, I will execute this file, and you can see that the console shows each item in one row. That means dog in one row, followed by cat, followed by owl, followed by tiger, and then lion. So what happens is for each of these items here, the for loop iterates through it and then executes the print statement. So it prints the first item and then goes to the second one and prints it, then the third one and prints it, and so on. So each item gets printed to a new line. Now let's see another example using a tuple. So before showing an example, I have to first create a tuple. We will use the same example, but this time we create a tuple instead of a list. So animals followed by the syntax for tuple, which is the normal bracket, followed by all these values here. Okay, so we now have a tuple called animals, and I will rather comment this first line and copy this from here to here. So what we are doing now is doing the same thing, but this time we are iterating over a tuple. Let's execute this and see the output. So you can see that the output is same because a tuple is almost same as a list, and the only difference is that they are immutable and we cannot add anything here. So moving on to the next example, where we would see how we can use a for loop inside a string. To show this example, I will create a new variable, say name, and this will have my name printed here with space followed by my surname. So what if I want to display each of these characters one by one on the console as output? So I have to do a for loop there, which means for, say, character in name. I will do a print here, and if I comment this out so that we don't use this anymore in the console, I will execute this again, and you can see that all of these characters gets printed in its own individual row. Okay, so this is done only because we are using the for loop. So if without the for loop, if we print this string, then you know that everything gets printed on a single line. I will comment this out and we move on to the next example, which is to use a for loop in the numbers or the range. So what happens if I want to print a list of numbers, or you can say the numbers from 0 till 10 onto my console? How can I do that without using a list? So it's simple. I can use a for loop for, say, item in range, and then I do a 10 here, and I can also say print item. So let's see what happens when we execute this file, and you can see that it prints all the items. So I have to execute this again so that we see the whole console output, and you can see that it starts printing from 0 till 9. So if I use a range here, which means it starts from 0 till the number provided here, but it does not print the last number. So if I do it till 11, it will print 10 as well. So you can see it starts from 0 and prints till 10. I can also provide two values in the range. Say I can provide 4 and then 11, then it will print only the values starting from 4 till 11 and not print 11. So if I execute, you can see that the output shows 4, 5, 6 till 10 and does not print 11. So the next item that I would like to discuss is the continue statement in a for loop. So there are situations when inside a for loop you do not want to execute this for the whole of the iteration. That means if you have all these values here in the list, for example the dog, cat, owl, tiger and lion, and there is a scenario where you just want to print the first two items inside the for loop, you can use the continue statement. So let's see how we can do this. For that, I will copy this particular code from here and I will put it here so that we could use it, and I will also comment this one out and create a new for loop. So for animal in animals, okay, I want to do a print animal. So this will print each of these items row by row on the console. Now I want to have a condition that it skips the owl and print everything else, because owl is a bird and not an animal. So I want to skip this while iterating through this particular list. So let's see how we can do that. So inside the for loop I am printing this, and what I can do is I will have a if condition. So if animal is equal to owl, so what happens if the animal the iterator reaches owl? We want to do a continue. That means when it reaches the owl value, it continues and does not execute the statement below it, and it goes to the next item in the for loop, which is tiger. So let's execute this file and see what's the output. So you can see that the output shows dog, cat, tiger and lion, while owl is not printed, which is as expected. So in the next step, we will see how we can use a break statement in a for loop. Suppose there is a scenario that I just want to print till owl, and once I reach the owl value, I do not print the remaining values inside the list. That means my output should have only dog, cat and owl, and after that, if there are multiple values, they should not get printed. So let's see how we can do that using the break statement. For animal in animals, and we do a print here and animal. So this is the same thing that we discussed earlier, but now we will see how we can use a break statement here. For that, I need to put a if condition. So if animal is equal to owl, I will break this for loop. Okay, so what's happening here, it iterates through each of these items in this list, and when it reaches the owl value, it breaks the for loop. That means it breaks from the for loop and comes out. It does not continue to the other values in the list. Let's execute this file and see the output in the console. So you can see that the output shows only two values, which are dog and cat. So the item at 0 index and the first index, and the owl is not printed because as soon as it reaches the owl value, the for loop breaks out from here. The next thing we are going to see is the nested for loop. So what is a nested for loop and why do we need it? A nested for loop is that in which you use multiple for loops inside each other. For example, I create one for loop and then within that for loop I create another for loop, then that's called a nested for loop. Let's jump into an example and see how this is used in Python programming. To show this example, I will create another list, say zoo, and I will name it as zoo1 and then zoo2. Okay, so we have a new list variable which has two values, zoo1 and zoo2, and we have our existing animals variable which has the values dog, cat, owl, tiger and lion. So let's see how we can use a nested for loop here. So first I will create a for loop to iterate through these items, which is zoo1 and zoo2. So for zoo in zoos. So now this for loop is iterating to zoo1 and zoo2, and within this for loop I want to iterate through each of these animals. So let's do that. For animal in animals. Okay, now I want to print the animal name here. So this is a simple example of a nested for loop. So what I'm doing here is I'm iterating through each zoo in the zoos variable, and within that for loop I'm again iterating through the animal list here. So which means for zoo1 we iterate through all the animals, and then for zoo2 here we again iterate through each of the animals in this list. And if I execute this file, you should see the output that dog, cat, owl, tiger, lion is repeated twice. And why is it happening? Because we have an outer for loop which iterates the inner for loop twice. If this is not clear to you, then it's okay, because it's just the starting point and you're just getting started with the for loop. Once you start practicing it on your own, you will understand it more and better. And to make it more clear, I can also do a print statement here and print zoo, which means it should print the current zoo and then the animals. So let's see how the output looks like. Before that, I have to pull this console a little bit above. And now you can see that zoo1 followed by all the animals in that zoo, and then zoo2 followed by all the animals in that particular zoo. Okay, so I think now this is pretty much clear to you. So let's jump into the last section of this particular video, which is the homework. So what you have to do today is create two lists. One is the list of people and the second is the list with the name data. So the people list will have the name of all the members of your family. The data list will have the values of age and gender. The data list will hold the age of each person that you mentioned in the people list. Finally, you have to print the name of each person and their age using a nested for loop. So the output should look like first the name of the person, then followed by the age of the person, then the next name of the person, then the age, then the name of the third person and their age, and so on. If you face any issue writing this program, please do comment on this video and I will try to help you as soon as possible. If you enjoyed watching this video so far, please do not forget to like this video and share it with your friends. Also, if you would like to get notified once I upload my next video on the beginner's tutorial for Python, then please subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon. Thanks for watching this video. Take care. Bye.